Sue Moroni. The member needs to also, I know it's an official language, but the member needs to also speak at the same time.
I need to speak at the same time, so I've just said thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thank you.
I'm pleased that I'm able to use New Zealand Sign Language to take this call. And in acknowledging that, I'd like to acknowledge the Honourable Ruth Dyson for her initiative in ensuring that New Zealand Sign Language became an official language of New Zealand. Mr Speaker, today the Prime Minister lost the plot. He completely lost the plot, and over what? You know, it's almost unprecedented for a Prime Minister alone to be thrown out of the chamber, but that's what happened. What did he lose the plot over? Because he's been caught out. He's been caught out protecting the mega wealthy who are using New Zealand as a tax haven. He has been caught out aiding and abetting that. That's why he's lost the plot. And New Zealanders are asking themselves, who on earth is this Prime Minister running this country for? Because his behaviour has become so extreme over his need to protect the mega wealthy. He's shrugging his shoulders at the idea that New Zealand's a tax haven, whereas most New Zealanders find that abhorrent. They're concerned about the reputation of New Zealand on the international scene, and so they should be. Mr Speaker, the Kathmandu Post, I'm informed, this week ran a headline that said, New Zealand prime place for rich to hide money. The Kathmandu Post ran that headline, and New Zealanders living in Nepal are appalled because this is their country being run through the mud because we have a Prime Minister who just shrugs his shoulders, whose minister, when he was advised of the tax loopholes that was inviting this sort of dirty money to come to New Zealand, was then rung up by the lawyer of the Prime Minister, and suddenly the review was off to fix that problem. And that is undeniable. That's why the Prime Minister's lost the plot, because he has been found out to be donkey deep in this dirty little affair for New Zealand. And so he's reacted in the way that we're not used to seeing him react, actually, but he got thrown out of the House today, and that's the reason why. He said some years ago that it was his vision that he wanted to see New Zealand become a financial services hub. Well, we all know now that that has just been code for allowing the mega rich to use New Zealand as a tax haven. That was the code that he used, a financial services hub. And it's shocking to note that since 2009, that the number of these foreign trusts that are operating in New Zealand have risen from around about 4,000 to 11,000. So it's mushroomed under John Key's leadership, and it's no wonder. So we've got a situation where the Prime Minister will stop at nothing over this issue. He is prepared to take down the reputation of organisations like Greenpeace, like Amnesty International and the Salvation Army, in his determination to continue to allow this process to happen in New Zealand, in his determination to protect the wealthy at the expense of the reputation of New Zealand. He is prepared to even take down some of our most reputable charitable organisations in trying to defend his position on that. It is indefensible, and the Prime Minister should be listening to what most New Zealanders say. On that issue, most New Zealanders understand that we do have, in many of our cities, a housing crisis. And of course we've had one in Auckland. That's plainly obvious. Everyone knows it except for the current government. They can't seem to accept that. But now it's finding its ways into, because they've failed to fix the housing crisis in Auckland, because they won't even acknowledge it, now we're finding that that problem is landing in cities like Hamilton. And yet, here's what Nick Smith has to say about the housing crisis that's developing in Hamilton. We've had increases in the order of 34% in house prices in the last 12 months in Hamilton. That's what people are facing. Most New Zealanders know that there's something fundamentally wrong with that. Well, not Nick Smith. He says first-time owners need to play the long game. That's what he told the Waikato Times. How long do they have to wait to save up a deposit to get into a home, Mr Smith? The long game. Well, the long game that New Zealanders know they must play now is that they must actually vote for a Labour Party, a Labour government next year. He also said that it's just a natural correction. So that's what the National Party thinks about the housing crisis that's developing in places like Hamilton. They've failed to fix it in Auckland, and they're failing to represent most New Zealanders.
Alfred.